Gather round, friends, and lend an ear to the embers of the unexplained. Percy Hawthorne here, your guide to the dusty archives of the extraordinary. Tonight's file, pulled from the shelves marked Crash at Corona, crackles with desert heat, Cold War secrets, and a chilling truth. Some visitors don't just leave, they settle in. Picture the parched July air of New Mexico, thick with the ghosts of Roswell and the neon buzz of the annual UFO Festival. But beneath the tinfoil hats and tourist cheer, something ancient and alien stirred. A pulse, not a celebration, but of awakening. And one tenacious soul, digging through forgotten logs, uncovered a passenger list with one name too many. What followed was an invasion. It was revelation. Pull up a chair, keep the lights low, and remember, trust is a luxury when the face in the mirror might not be your own. The desert air shimmered above Corona, New Mexico, thick with the scent of roasting chilies, fried bread, and the faint, metallic tang of anticipation. Roswell's larger, brasher cousin 40 miles south. Corona embraced its notoriety. The annual UFO Festival was in full. Tinfoil had its swing. Main Street pulsed with neon saucers. Vendors hawked authentic alien jerky, and speakers debated the merits of various government cover-ups beneath a sky rapidly purpling towards twilight. Yet, 10 miles out past the last flickering festival banner, silence reigned over the scrubland surrounding the old Foster Ranch. Ground zero for the 47 incident. Adjacent to it, hidden behind razor wire and decaying no trespassing, military reserve signs lay the true subject of Gabriel Sterling's unease. Gabriel Sterling stood on the porch of his rented adobe cabin, miles from the festival frenzy, his gaze fixed east towards a restricted zone. Late 30s, lean with the quiet intensity of a scholar who traded lecture halls for darker libraries. He felt it first in the pit of his stomach, a low thrum, not sound, but vibration. It resonated to the packed earth beneath his boots, prickled the dry skin of his forearms, and sent a discordant shiver through the normally serene desert chorus of insects and wind. He closed his eyes, letting his peculiar attunement unfurl. Images flickered. Cold, blue light pulsing deep within the earth, a sense of profound, ancient hunger stirring from slumber, a sharp, metallic taste flooding his mouth. Awakening. Gabe, you doing your desert zen thing again? Because the real action, Milo Hart announced, bursting through the screen door with the chaotic energy of a caffeinated jackrabbit, is back in town. They've got a guy sculpting little green men out of tumbleweeds. Tumbleweeds, Gabe. The sheer, unadulterated chutzpah. Milo, Gabriel's partner in navigating the world's stranger corners, was a whirlwind of mismatched socks, faded band T-shirts today, Proxima Centauri or bust, and irrepressible enthusiasm. His photographic memory cataloged every bizarre festival detail, while his cosmic intuition, a constant background felt unusually quiet, suspiciously quiet. It's not Zen, Milo, Gabriel murmured, his voice low and tense. It's resonance. Something's active out at the old test site, stronger than the usual background It feels hungry. He opened his eyes, the deep brown reflecting the worry tightening his features. Milo's grin faltered for a nanosecond. Hungry? Like space locust hungry? Or just really disappointed in the alien jerky selection? He scanned the horizon, his usual comedic shield momentarily lowered. His own internal radar, usually a jumble of vague impressions, felt muffled like static over a weak signal. That wasn't comforting. Okay, point taken. Less tumbleweed art appreciation. More ominous desert vibes monitoring. Got it. But before we suit up for clandestine operations, we need caffeine. Serious caffeine. My improv skills demand fuel. Their destination wasn't the festival main stage, but the Cosmic Grind, a coffee shop run by Sarah Vance, a whip-smart local journalist whose skepticism was as legendary as her green chili stew. The shop was packed with festival goers, buzzing with theories and laughter. Sarah, however, wasn't laughing. She stood behind the counter, her usual vibrant energy replaced by a pale, shell-shocked stillness. Her eyes, usually sharp and assessing, were wide, fixed on a yellowed, typewritten page lying beside the espresso machine. Sarah? Gabriel approached, his empathic sense immediately recoiling from the dense cloud of fear and disbelief radiating from her. It wasn't just anxiety. It was a cold, gut-punch shock of a foundational truth crumbling. "What is it?" She jumped, startled, then grabbed the page, her knuckles white. "Gabriel." "Milo." "Thank God." Her voice was a raspy whisper. I found something. In the basement archives of the old courthouse. Boxes marked Scientific Horizons, Field Test Disposition, Corona Annex, 1947 to 1955. Just shoved away. She thrust the page at Gabriel. "Read it." Log entry, July 8th, 1947. Gabriel took the fragile paper. Milo leaned in, his photographic memory instantly capturing every keystroke, every smudge. The entry detailed the recovery operation at the Foster Ranch site. Standard military jargon. Debris field secured, biological material contained, wreckage transported, then a chillingly mundane addendum. Itemization of recovered biological entities. Subject Alpha, deceased, severe traumatic compromise. Subject Beta, deceased, structural failure. Subject Gamma, viable but critical. Transferred Site Gamma for stabilization. Passenger unit, status unaccounted. Last track vicinity Site Gamma perimeter. Presumed neutralized in perimeter sweep. Recommend deep scan for residual signature. Passenger unit? Milo breathed, the implications hitting him like a physical blow. His cosmic intuition, silent before, suddenly screamed a single, silent warning, danger close. They lost one, back in 47. Sarah nodded, her face ashen, unaccounted, presumed neutralized. But what if it wasn't? What if it just hid? Her gaze darted toward the window, towards the distant hills hiding Site Gamma. This pulse everyone's talking about, the weird energy readings. Gabriel, what if it's not coming? What if it's waking up? The festive chatter of the coffee shop suddenly felt thin, brittle. Gabriel felt the echo of Sarah's terror, amplified by the log's cold implication. The passenger wasn't debris. It was an entity that slipped the net. And the pulse, it wasn't a signal. It was an alarm clock. Chapter 2, Echoes in the Dust and the First Replacement. The revelation hung heavy in the air of the cosmic grind, thick enough to choke on. Gabriel focused past Sarah's radiating panic, extending his empathic senses toward the log page itself. Touching the yellowed paper gingerly, he closed his eyes. Images flickered, not clear, but impressions. Cold concrete walls slick with condensation. The sharp, sterile smell of antiseptic mixed with something coppery, alien. A profound, chilling sense of calculation. And beneath it all, a pulse of cold, blue light resonating with the thrum he'd felt earlier. The echo wasn't just an event. It was imbued with the intent of the recorder, military efficiency tinged with underlying dread. It wasn't neutralized, Gabriel stated flatly, opening his eyes. The certainty in his voice cut through Sarah's fear. The log entry carries the echo of uncertainty, of a cover-up initiated out of fear, not fact. They swept the perimeter, found nothing conclusive, and marked it presumed to close the file. The passenger, it survived. It hid. He looked toward the window, towards a restricted zone. And whatever's pulsing out there now, it's calling home. Milo, usually the first with quip, was uncharacteristically silent. His photographic memory replayed the log entry, cross-referencing it with everything he'd ever read about the Roswell recovery. Site Gamma, he muttered. That's got to be the annex next to Foster Place. The field test site. Stabilization for Subject Gamma, and the last known location of the passenger. His gut churned. The muffled silence of his intuition was gone, replaced by a high-pitched whine of imminent threat. Sarah, who else knows about this log? Just me, she whispered. I found it late last night. I was going to verify it, maybe track down someone who worked for Scientific Horizons back then. She trailed off, a new fear dawning. Oh, God, what if it knows I found it? Possible, Gabriel said grimly. We need to assume it's intelligent, observant, and has had decades to embed itself. It could be anyone, anything. He turned to Milo. We need to get to Site Gamma. Quietly, see the source of that pulse. Milo nodded, his usual spark returning, tempered now by focus. Right. Operation. Sneaky desert hike. I'll pack the essentials. Water, trail mix, spare socks, and the industrial-strength bug spray. Who knows what kind of space ticks are out there? He managed a weak grin, a flicker of his normal self trying to push back the encroaching dread. Their plan was interrupted by the jangling bell of the coffee shop door. Deputy Hank Riley, a bear of a man with a perpetually sunburned neck and a slow, deliberate manner, lumbered in. His usual affable expression was replaced by a puzzled frown. Mornin', Sarah, Gabe, Milo. He tipped his hat. Weird one. Old man Henderson's prize-winning rooster, Elvis, vanished. Coop door wide open, no feathers, no struggle. Just gone, like it walked out. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Henderson lived on the very edge of town, closest to the restricted zone. Gabriel felt a fresh wave of unease. Not just fear, but a strange, dissonant emptiness emanating from the deputy's description. Like the space where the rooster should have been was filled with static. Probably coyotes, Hank, Sarah said, her voice strained. Or festival pranksters? Hank scratched his head. Maybe, but Elvis was meaner than a junkyard dog. Would have put up one heck of a fight. Just feels off. He ordered a large black coffee, his presence a solid, grounding reminder of the normal world, now seeming increasingly fragile. As Hank left, Milo sidled up to Gabriel. Okay, vanishing rooster. Weird, but rooster could be anything. Feel the space, Milo, Gabriel murmured. When Hank described it, what did you feel? Milo concentrated, replaying the deputy's words in his mind. His gift wasn't empathy, but pattern recognition on a cosmic scale. Not struggle, not fear, just absence, like a hole punched in the background noise, like something was erased. Gabriel nodded grimly. Not taken, replaced, but replaced by nothing. They spent the day gathering supplies and information. Gabriel contacted his old Scientific Horizons liaison, using cryptic language about anomalous energy signatures, and requesting any declassified schematics for Corona Annex. Milo uses festival access and affable charm, chatting up locals and tourists, his photographic memory cataloging faces, names, snippets of conversation. He noticed subtle shifts. A usually talkative diner waitress seemed distracted, her responses slightly delayed, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. A local mechanic known for his booming laugh worked in unnerving silence. Small things, easily dismissed as festival fatigue or personal troubles, but the pattern nagged at Milo's intuition. Each instance carried that same faint echo of absence he'd felt listening to Hank. That evening, as the festival's main speaker droned on about ancient astronauts, the pulse intensified. Gabriel felt it like a physical blow this time, a deep, resonant thud that vibrated his bones. The desert night felt suddenly colder, sharper. Milo grabbed his arm, his face pale. Gabe, it's not just out there. It's here, moving. They found Sarah at her small bungalow on the outskirts of town. The lights were on, but the door stood slightly ajar. Inside, the scene was meticulously normal, except for Sarah. She sat at her cluttered desk, staring blankly at her computer screen. Her notes on the log entry were spread out, but untouched. When Gabriel called her name, she turned slowly. Her eyes, usually so alive with curiosity and skepticism, were flat, devoid of the fiery intelligence that defined her. A faint, unnatural chill seemed to emanate from her. Sarah? Gabriel's voice was gentle, probing. His empathic sense recoiled. Where Sarah's vibrant, slightly anxious energy should have been, there was a void, a perfect mimicry of her form, her face, even the ink smudge on her cheek, but radiating a chilling, emotionless stillness, like looking at a photograph that had swallowed the person. Gabriel. Milo. Her voice was Sarah's, but toneless, without inflection, like a recording played slightly too slow. Did you require something? I was cataloging festival receipts. She gestured limply toward the stack of papers. Milo's blood ran cold. His photographic memory screamed the discrepancies. Sarah never filed receipts immediately. She hated paperwork. The ink smudge was on the wrong cheek. And the eyes were all wrong. Dead windows looking out from a familiar face. This wasn't Sarah Vance. This was the passenger, wearing her skin. Chapter 3. The mimic's mask and whispers in the wire. The thing wearing Sarah Vance's face stared at them, its gaze unsettlingly vacant. The silence in the bungalow stretched, thick with unspoken horror. Gabriel felt the chilling absence radiating from it. Not hostility, not yet, but profound, alien emptiness. It was studying them, learning. Milo broke the tension, his comedic instincts kicking in as a desperate survival tool. Receipt, Sarah? Really? On a night like this? Come on, the cosmic chili cook-off judging is about to start. Mayor Jenkins versus Carl from the gas and sip. Legendary rivalry. You never missed a chance to heckle Carl's 5-alarm bean sludge. He infused his voice with exaggerated enthusiasm, stepping slightly in front of Gabriel, creating a distraction. The mimic's head tilted a fraction too mechanically. Carl, beans. It parroted, the words devoid of understanding. It was accessing Sarah's memories clumsily, like searching a poorly indexed database. Yes, perhaps later. Much work. It turned back to the computer screen, its fingers hovering over the keyboard without pressing any keys. Gabriel seized the opening. His voice remained calm, authoritative, tapping into the linguistic patterns Sarah would respond to from a source she trusted. Sarah, the log entry, the passenger unit. Scientific Horizons might have secondary files. Do you recall the archivist's name? From the courthouse basement? It's urgent. He projected focused concern, the kind Sarah would respect. The mimic paused, its brow furrowed in a poor imitation of concentration. Files, basement. It accessed a memory. Ellis, Thomas Ellis, retired lives. Elm Street, number. It trailed off, the retrieval incomplete. The impersonation was superficial, lacking depth. That's helpful, Sarah, thanks, Gabriel said smoothly. We'll check with Ellis. Get some rest. Big day tomorrow. He nudged Milo subtly towards the door. Milo flashed a wide, utterly unconvincing grin at the mimic. Yeah, rest up. Gotta be sharp to spot Carl's secret ingredient. Probably crushed despair. Later, Sarah. He practically bolted out the door. Gabriel followed, closing it gently behind him, his heart pounding against his ribs. Outside, under the vast and different stars, they leaned against Gabriel's dusty pickup truck. The desert air, usually crisp and clean, felt tainted. It didn't feel anything, Gabe, Milo whispered, shivering despite the warmth. Like a mannequin powered by bad AI. And the eyes. I know, Gabriel breathed. It's learning. Quickly. That was an interrogation, not a conversation. It wanted information. He ran a hand through his hair. Thomas Ellis. We need to find him. Now, before it does. Elm Street was a quiet lane of modest bungalows. Number 17 was dark, the porch light off. An old Ford sedan sat in the driveway. Gabriel approached, his senses extended. He felt nothing from a house. No fear, no anticipation. Just a quiet hum of appliances and profound, chilling emptiness he was starting to dread. He knocked. No answer. He tried the knob. Unlocked. Inside, the living room was tidy, obsessively so. Framed photos showed a younger Thomas Ellis with military bearing. Scientific Horizons ID badges hung on a pegboard. On a small desk, a single sheet of paper lay under a magnifying glass. Gabriel moved closer. It was a fragment of an older log, singed at the edges. Typed words were visible. Passenger unit exhibits advanced biomimetic capabilities. Assimilation appears seamless. Recommend extreme. The rest was ash. Milo scanned the room, his memory capturing every detail. No sign of struggle. Beds made. Toothbrush dry. Coffee pot cold. He pointed to the desk. He was working on this. Recently. Then poof. Gabriel touched the fragment. The echo was faint but clear. Intense focus, dawning horror, then nothing. A sudden, complete severance. Taken, he confirmed, his voice tight. Replaced. Like Sarah. Like Elvis. Like the others we haven't found yet. He pocketed the fragment. It's hunting anyone with knowledge. Covering its tracks back to 47. The drive back towards town was tense. As they neared the turnoff of the restricted zone access road, Milo suddenly yelled, "Stop! Gabe, pull over!" Gabriel slammed the brakes. Milo pointed toward the barbed wire fence bordering the military land. Tangled in the wire, fluttering like a macabre flag, was a strip of faded red fabric, unmistakably part of Old Man Henderson's flannel shirt. They took him to... Milo breathed. But why leave a clue? Not a clue, Gabriel said, his eyes scanning the darkness beyond the fence. A warning. Or bait. He felt it then, a subtle shift in the desert's energy. The pulse was stronger here, a steady, rhythmic thudding deep within the earth, pulling like a magnet, and beneath it a new sensation, a cold, predatory awareness turning its focus towards them. It knows we're looking. It knows we found Ellis. It's drawing us in. Milo's intuition shrieked. Trap. Definitely a trap. Like giant space alien Venus flytrap level trap. Gabriel stared into the oppressive darkness of the restricted zone. Sight Gamma lay within, pulsing with alien energy, the heart of the awakening. The passenger was there. The answers were there. And the mimic wearing Sarah's face was likely reporting their every move. We don't have a choice, Milo. We go in, tonight, before it replaces anyone else, before it perfects the mask. Chapter 4. Into the annex in the heart of the awakening. The razor wire fence was old, rusted in sections. Gabriel used heavy-duty cutters from his truck, the metallic snarl echoing too loudly in the vast silence. Milo kept watch, his senses stretched thin, his cosmic intuition a constant, high-pitched whine of danger. The desert night pressed in, the festive lights of Corona a distant, mocking glow. Once through, they moved quickly, using arroyos and scrub brush for cover, guided by Gabriel's attunement to the intensifying pulse. It was a physical force now, vibrating up through their boots, making their teeth ache. The old Scientific Horizons annex, Sight Gamma, wasn't a gleaming lab. It was a cluster of decaying concrete bunkers half buried in a hillside, overgrown with desert brush, looking more like ancient ruins than a Cold War relic. The main entrance was a massive, riveted steel door, slightly ajar, darkness pooling within. The source of the pulse radiated from deep inside. Charming, Milo whispered, peering into the gloom. Reminds me of my first apartment, minus the overwhelming sense of impending doom. Mostly. He clicked on a powerful flashlight, the beam cutting through dust motes dancing in the air. Inside, the air was cold, stale, and thick with the smell of decay, ozone, and something else sharp, alien, organic. Corridors branched off, lined with heavy, sealed doors marked with faded numbers and biohazard symbols. Gabriel led, his empathic senses navigating the psychic residue, layers of human fear, clinical detachment, and the pervasive, cold hunger of the alien presence. They found a central control room. Consoles, dead for decades, were covered in dust. On a large central table lay scattered files, schematics of the original Roswell debris, and chillingly detailed biological sketches of the recovered entities, subjects Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and one other, labeled only Passenger, depicted not as a distinct body, but as a viscous, silvery substance capable of flowing, reshaping, enveloping. Biomimetic assimilation, Gabriel breathed, examining the sketches. It doesn't just mimic. It becomes, absorbs the host completely. That's why there's no echo, no remnant of the original. It's total replacement. He picked up a final schematic, a cross-section of the bunker complex. Deep below level 3, a large chamber was marked primary containment/energy core. The pulse originated there. Descending deeper was like walking into the belly of a sleeping beast. The air grew colder. Strange bioluminescent fungi clung to the walls, casting an eerie blue-green light. The pulse was a tangible throb now, vibrating the metal staircases. Milo's flashlight beam caught glimpses of other chambers, cryotubes shattered and empty, examination tables stained with dark, unidentifiable fluids, containment cells with walls scarred by deep, frantic gouges. The echoes here were screams, frozen to concrete. Finally, they reached the massive blast door ceiling level 3. It was partially open, warped by immense force from within. An unnatural, cold blue light spilled out. Gabriel held up a hand, signaling silence. He extended his senses beyond the door. The pulse was deafening here, a physical pressure. But beneath it he felt the cold, calculating intelligence they'd encountered in Sarah's bungalow, amplified 1,000-fold. And something else, the multitude of smaller, fainter pulses scattered throughout Corona. The mimics, a network, waiting. They slipped through the gap. The chamber beyond was vast, dominated by a central structure that looked less like a machine and more like a grotesque fusion of crystalline technology and pulsating organic matter. It glowed with a cold blue light, veins of energy pulsing rhythmically through it, the source of the signal awakening the passenger. Around its base, figures stood motionless in the gloom. Old Man Henderson in his overalls, Thomas Ellis in a cardigan, the quiet mechanic, the distracted waitress, dozens more, their faces blank, eyes reflecting the cold light, an army of replacements, silently networked to the core, and standing slightly apart, facing the core, was Sarah Vance, or what wore her skin. It turned as they entered. Its movements were smoother now, more confident. The vacant eyes fixed on them, devoid of Sarah's fire, filled only with alien assessment. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. The message was clear in the sudden, synchronized turn of dozens of blank faces toward the intruders, and an intensifying throb of the core that vibrated Gabriel's bones like a tuning fork. "Okay," Milo whispered, his voice trembling only slightly. "So, not just one. Got it. Plan B?" Plan B usually involves running. Just throwing that out there. Gabriel didn't run. He focused past the terrifying tableau, past the cold intelligence in Sarah's eyes, towards the pulsing core. His empathic sense, overwhelmed by the collective void of the mimics, latched onto the core itself. He felt its purpose, not just a beacon, but a seed. The pulse wasn't just waking the original passenger. It was preparing to broadcast the assimilation signal wider, turning Corona into ground zero for a silent, perfect invasion. The field test wasn't over. It was entering its final phase. Chapter 5. Confronting the passenger and silencing the seed. The chamber hummed with malignant energy. The cold blue light etched the faces of the silent mimics into stark, horrifying relief. The thing wearing Sarah Vance's skin took a step forward, its movement unervingly fluid. It raised Sarah's hand, not in greeting, but in a gesture that seemed to command the very air. The pulsing of the core intensified, the thrumming deepening into a subsonic growl that vibrated Gabriel's teeth and made Milo clap his hands over his ears with a gasp. The assembled mimics took a synchronized step forward. Gabriel Sterling. The mimic spoke, Sarah's voice stripped of warmth, flattened into an instrument of chilling precision. Milo Hart. Pattern recognized. Threat assessment. High. Containment protocol initiated. It tilted its head. Resistance is inefficient. Assimilation is perfection. Milo, shaken but defiant, stepped forward, planting himself between Gabriel and the advancing mimics. Perfection? Buddy, have you seen your impersonation of Sarah? You got her coffee order wrong this morning. Double-shot oat milk latte, not a black coffee. And the way you filed those receipts? Amateur hour. Sarah throws paperwork like confetti at a conspiracy theorist convention. His voice was loud, brazen, a deliberate assault on the mimic's attempt at seamless replication. He wasn't just joking. He was weaponizing his photographic memory, highlighting every tiny flaw in the mimic's performance, attacking its claim of perfection. You call that assimilation? I call it a bad community theater audition. The mimic paused. A flicker of something crossed the smooth mass of Sarah's face. Not anger, perhaps confusion. The seamless network of the mimics seemed to stutter for a fraction of a second. The core's pulse hitched. Milo's chaotic energy, his pinpoint observation of human imperfection, was a virus the passenger's cold logic struggled to compute. Gabriel seized the opening Milo created. While the mimic was momentarily distracted by Milo's verbal barrage, Gabriel closed his eyes. He blocked out the terrifying scene, the suffocating pressure, the chilling void of the mimics. He focused inward, reaching for the deepest layer of his attunement, not to emotions, but to the fundamental patterns of energy and life. He felt the desert outside, vast and ancient, slumbering beneath the artificial cold of the bunker. He felt the intricate web of life, from the scuttling insects to the resilient cacti, all humming with their own quiet frequencies. And he felt the alien core, a discordant, invasive shriek tearing through the natural harmony. He poured his awareness, his intent, not toward destruction, but towards resonance. He sought the core's frequency, the precise vibrational signature of its cold blue pulse. Finding it was like touching raw static, painful and jarring. But within that discord, he sensed a vulnerability, a reliance on a specific, unstable harmonic to maintain its connection to the mimics and amplify its signal. It was complex, layered, a cryptologic puzzle written in energy waves. Gabriel, the linguist of the unseen, began to decipher it. He focused his will, drawing on the deep, grounding resonance of the earth itself, and began to project a counterfrequency, not loud but precise, insidious, a subtle dissonance aimed at the core's weakest harmonic. The core flickered. The steady pulse stuttered, becoming erratic. The cold blue light dimmed momentarily. The advancing mimics froze, their synchronized movement disrupted. Heads twitched erratically. A low, confused moan rose from several throats, a horrifying sound devoid of humanity. The Sarah mimic snapped its head towards Gabriel, Sarah's face contorting into an expression of pure, alien fury that no human muscle could replicate. "Cease!" Its voice was a distorted shriek, losing its human cadence. It lunged, not at Gabriel, but at Milo, its hand elongating, fingers sharpening into silvery points. "Think fast, Space Cadet." Milo yelled, not flinching. He didn't try to dodge the lunge. Instead, he threw himself towards a mimic, diving low beneath its grasping arm. He hit the dusty floor and rolled, coming up behind the core structure near a bank of shattered control panels. "Gabe!" The harmonic instability. It's tied to the main power conduit feeding this monstrosity. See the thick cable? Looks like it's seen better decades. Gabriel saw it. A heavy, insulated cable snaking from the wall into the base of the pulsating core. Milo's photographic memory had spotted the critical vulnerability. Maintaining his focused projection of dissonance was draining him. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He couldn't break concentration to physically attack. The mimic, recovering from its missed lunge, was turning back towards him, its form shimmering, becoming less defined, more fluid and menacing. "Milo, the cable!" Gabriel gasped, his voice strained. "Disrupt it!" Milo didn't hesitate. He scanned the debris-strewn floor. His eyes locked onto a heavy, rusted pipe wrench lying near the shattered panels. He grabbed it, hefted its satisfying weight. The Sarah mimic was flowing towards Gabriel like liquid mercury. The other mimics were twitching back to life, starting to move again, drawn by the core's rallying pulse. "Hey, T-1000!" Milo bellowed, channeling every ounce of his improv energy. "Bet you can't do this." He took a running leap, not at the mimic, but towards the thick power conduit feeding the core. With a grunt fueled by adrenaline and sheer terror, he swung the wrench with all his might. Crack! The heavy metal connected solidly with the cable junction. Sparks exploded in a shower of blue-white light. The core shrieked, an audible, agonized sound that ripped through the chamber. Its light flared blindingly bright, then died completely, plunging them into near-total darkness except for the weak beams of their flashlights. The deep, resonant pulse ceased abruptly, replaced by a ringing silence. The effect on the mimics was instantaneous and horrifying. They didn't collapse. They deflated. Like puppets with their strings cut, they slumped where they stood. The Sarah mimic, inches from Gabriel, froze mid-lunge. Its form lost cohesion, shimmering violently. Sarah's features melted away like wax, revealing a swirling, viscous mass of silvery liquid metal that pulsed weakly for a moment before collapsing inwards with a sickening wet squelch, leaving only a dark, oily stain on the concrete floor. All around the chamber, the other mimics dissolved into similar stains. the stolen forms vanishing as if they had never been. Silence. Utter, profound silence, broken only by their ragged breathing and the frantic beating of their hearts. The oppressive alien presence was gone, replaced by the dusty, decaying smell of the old bunker and the faint scent of ozone from the damaged cable. Milo dropped the wrench, his hands trembling. Did we just... Gabriel staggered, the effort of maintaining the counterfrequency leaving him drained. He shone his flashlight around the chamber. Only stains remained where the mimics had stood. The core was dark, inert, a dead hulk of alien technology. He knelt beside the dark stain that had been the Sarah mimic. Nothing remained. No trace of the passenger. No trace of Sarah Vance. Just emptiness. "We stopped the signal," Gabriel said, his voice hoarse. "We destroyed the network. The mimics, they were extensions. Without the core, without the original passenger directing them, they couldn't maintain cohesion." He looked at Milo, exhaustion etched deep on his face. "But Sarah, Thomas Ellis, Henderson, they're gone, Milo. Truly gone. Assimilated completely." Milo slumped against the dead core, the reality hitting him. The victory felt hollow, ash in his mouth. So, the original passenger? The one from 47? Is it? Gabriel shone his light over the silvery stain. This was it. The core was its life support, its amplification system, its connection to the network. When Milo disrupted the power, when I shattered its control frequency, it destabilized. It couldn't survive the severance. He looked towards the dark entrance. The threat here, it's over. But as they made their way back through the silent, corpse-like bunker, past the stains that marked the erased lives of Corona, Gabriel felt no triumph. The desert outside welcomed them with its vast indifference. The festival lights of Corona still glowed in the distance, oblivious. The passenger was gone, its invasion halted. But the cost was written in empty homes, unanswered questions, and the chilling knowledge that for decades an alien intelligence had lived among them. Hidden in plain sight, waiting for its signal to turn neighbor against neighbor, to erase and replace. The crash at Corona hadn't ended in 1947. Its true horror had only just been sleeping. Percy Hawthorne's signature sign-off. The stains on the concrete faded with the desert sun. Friends. The core fell silent, a dead hulk in a forgotten tomb. The festival ended, tourists packing away their tinfoil hats, blissfully unaware of the silent war waged in the hills. Gabriel Sterling and Milo Hart walked out of that bunker, carrying the weight of victory laced with ashes. They saved Corona from an invasion not of ships, but of stolen faces. Yet, the ledger remained stained. Sarah Vance, Thomas Ellis, Old Man Henderson, names erased not by death, but by perfect, chilling replacement. Where did the passenger hide for 70 years? Who else walked among us, wearing a mask woven from the stolen lives of neighbors? The official files? Sealed tighter than Psych Gamma's blast door. The truth? Buried deeper than the Foster Ranch debris. So, the ledger on the Corona's strangeness closes for now. But remember, the desert keeps its secrets well. Trust the warmth of a friend's smile. But perhaps glance twice at the reflection in the diner window. Carry that spare coffee. Keep your mind sharper than Occam's razor. And walk softly under these watchful stars. For the archive of the unexplained is never truly complete. This is Percy Hawthorne, reminding you, sometimes the most alien thing is a face next door. Good night.